Castle.
My Lords, following on from the noble Lord Rooker, I feel I should declare my FE experience, which was shorthand at Wagga Wagga College in Australia, and a very brief and perhaps best glossed over experience of farm mechanics a long, long time ago. I'm going to start with some rather older history, however, human history, or rather prehistory. 400,000 years ago, in the East African Rift Valley, human species faced a huge threat, a massive ecological change. The very foundations of their world had shifted. What those ancient humans, individuals just like you and I, did, archaeological evidence shows, was develop new skills, new technology, and use their creativity to develop new forms of communication, all remarkably quickly. Now, that's an account drawn from a major study in the journal Science Advances, published last year. And I hope your Lordship's House will see the parallels with what we face today. We face a climate emergency. Our state of nature is dire. Our current growth-driven economic model has left us in a crisis of poverty and inequality. Massive change is needed. And yet in this bill, for all its talk of the future and the need for transition, makes no mention of climate or nature, nor does the policy summary. And there's only a brief mention in the impact assessment. Now, this is a situation your Lordship's House has found itself in multiple recent bills, and other bills have left here only after the addition of at least some reference to climate and nature, and I hope that we can do that again. Although for the country that is the chair of COP, a government that likes to attach the words world leading and green together, it's quite astonishing that we should find ourselves in this position again. I point, noble Lords, to the excellent Peers for Planet briefing on these issues, which goes into far greater depth than I have time today. But just to tick off some points, the global economy has to be a green economy, and even in the government's own terms, there is a significant competitive advantage in enabling UK workers to upskill in green areas. Secondly, the government has or is promising a whole range of sector-specific strategies. We see no sign how these will be joined up with the local skills improvement plans. Thirdly, we get from the government a very narrow idea of what future skills are needed. There seems to be a lot of hard hats involved, and of course the ubiquitous digital skills, and of course we need a huge amount of improvement in those areas. But equally urgent are skills in sustainable land management, nature-based solutions, ecosystem management, hard-toed boots perhaps, but caked in healthy, life-rich soil rather than hard concrete. Fourthly, we see no way in which this bill feeds into the need for a just transition for individuals and communities, as the noble Baroness Lady Sheehan so powerfully illuminated. Now, if we look at what young people are asking for, they're demanding that their education include far more information about climate and sustainability. They understand that it is central to every part of their future life. So why is the government not able to consider this in every part of education in our society? Sustainable development goals to which the government signed up, the systems thinking that underlies them, should be in every part and level of education. Which brings me to some points about what is in the bill. And I begin with the expert remarks of the noble Baroness Lady Wilcox of Newport. I would associate myself with everything she said, but focus particularly on one point. She said that the local skills improvement plans need to be co-produced. Communities, politicians, educators, students, and businesses. The fact is, what we're hearing from the government is very much a sole focus on business, and we know that the loud business voices are likely to be the big business voices, which are not the major part of our economy. And as the excellent University and College Union briefing on this bill notes, the educator voice is missing from the government's plans. And I really want to focus on the noble lady's point about students and extend that point. For if students are not at the heart of designing courses, they are unlikely to meet their needs, not just for a narrow set of technical competencies, but for life, and life in a fast transforming world. For we come now really to the big issue: what is education for? The majority of today's speakers have focused on employment. But we all need lifelong learning, continuing education in varying forms, and fitting varying places on the government's classifications, from level 2 upwards, to function in society as community members, as voters, as parents, as indeed the noble Baroness Lady Verman noted, as users of the financial sector. And in a society with an epidemic of mental ill health, we shouldn't underplay the value of learning new skills, finding new places in society for public health, as the noble Lord Billamoria noted. Now, the noble lady, the Minister, in her introduction, said that 34% of working-age graduates are not in high-skilled employment. I really hope that the noble lady will acknowledge that that does not mean they're not using the skills they obtained from that education. Employment is not the only place those skills are needed. Which is where I find myself, considerably to my surprise, in agreement with the noble Lords Willets and Johnson, setting further and higher education against each other, even in opposition to each other, suggesting that funding should not be available to those with higher qualifications for so-called lower-level courses, further hardens what is already an extraordinarily hierarchical system. Now, I fear the Minister in response might say I'm drawing the brush too widely. These are matter for other bills, other days. Well, I go back to the first words of the bill. They are to make provisions about local skills improvement plans, to make provisions relating to further education. Education is not, cannot just be about jobs or serving the economy.